Today, we're diving into the story of a physicist who came up with one of the most audacious, long-term energy plans maybe ever. We're talking about a plan so ambitious, it was designed to power an entire country for centuries.
So get this, imagine it's the 1950s. India is a brand new independent nation. It has practically none of the world's main nuclear fuel, uranium. And yet one man steps up and designs a 100-year energy plan. It sounds completely impossible, right? But that was the sheer scale of Homi Bhabha's thinking.
So, okay, who was this guy behind such a massive plan? Well, his story really kicks off with a huge choice he had to make, a choice that would literally change the destiny of his entire country.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1927, and a young Homi Bhabha shows up at Cambridge University. Now, his family had a plan for him. Study engineering, get a good, stable job back home. You know the drill. But Bhabha, well, his heart was pulling him somewhere else entirely.
The conviction in these words is just wow. He's writing this to his father, basically pleading with him to let him follow his real passion. He wasn't just kinda interested in physics. He felt like he was born for it. And you know what? His dad eventually agreed, and Bhabha went on to get his PhD in theoretical physics.
So his career in Europe is just starting to take off, and then history throws a massive curveball. He takes a holiday back home to India in 1939, and boom, World War II breaks out. He can't get back to Europe. He's essentially stranded. But it's right there that Bhabha finds a totally new mission. He's going to build a world-class science community right there in India.
And this, right here, is where everything changes. Bhabha's personal journey suddenly becomes a national strategy. He starts looking at the resources available to a brand new, independent India. And he spots a huge problem, but also a completely unique solution.
So here was the puzzle. On one side, India had basically zero uranium. That's the standard fuel everyone else was using for nuclear power. If they went that route, they'd be dependent on other countries forever. But on the other side, they had a secret weapon. Turns out, India has one of the world's biggest stockpiles of another element, thorium, just sitting there in the beach sand.
And this is where Bhabha's genius really shines. See, most people would look at the lack of uranium and call it a deal breaker, a major weakness. Not Bhabha. He saw the mountains of thorium as a massive strategic advantage. So he decided, forget the old way. We're going to forge a whole new path, a program built specifically for India, with the goal of total energy independence.
So what was his solution? It's brilliant. The best way to get your head around it is to think of it like a relay race. Not a short sprint, but a long-distance, three-part relay, where each runner, each stage, perfectly sets up the next one.
All right, let's break down this race. Stage 1, the first runner takes off. They used a little bit of uranium India does have. This makes electricity, sure, but it also creates something else super important, a byproduct called plutonium. That's the first baton. For stage 2, that plutonium gets passed to these special breeder reactors. Now think of these things as fuel factories. They make power, but crazy enough, they actually create more fuel than they consume. And this is where they start converting India's thorium into a brand new fuel, uranium-233. That's the final baton, which gets passed for stage 3. And this last stage is the big one, using that new fuel to tap into India's massive thorium reserves. We're talking centuries of clean, independent energy.
So you see the core idea here, right? It's a closed-loop system. Nothing gets wasted. The leftover, spent fuel from one stage isn't just trash. No, it gets recycled and becomes the essential fuel for the next stage. This whole approach just multiplies the energy you get from that first little bit of fuel, making the entire cycle unbelievably efficient and sustainable.
Okay, but here's the wild part. This isn't just some old theory from a history book. This 70-year-old plan is actually happening right now. Just recently, in early 2024, India officially kicked off Stage 2. Their prototype fast breeder reactor went critical. This is a huge deal, a massive milestone. It's the bridge that finally connects Bhabha's original vision to a real thorium-powered future.
And that milestone really just hammers home how revolutionary Bhabha's plan was. His legacy isn't just about physics. It's about having this unbelievable foresight, even when staring down some incredible challenges.
So what really made this plan so groundbreaking? Well, think about it. At a time when everyone was thinking short-term, Bhabha was planning for the next century. While other countries were happy to just import fuel, his #1 goal was total self-reliance. And he did this knowing the odds were stacked against him.
India had very little infrastructure, they were going to face global pushback, and getting funding was going to be a nightmare. He basically imagined turning what looked like useless beach sand, thorium, into a national treasure, and he was ready to build the entire system from the ground up to make it happen.
And you can see how profound the impact of this structure is. Stage 1 is all about using that limited resource smartly to get the ball rolling. Stage 2 then takes that and multiplies the fuel supply like crazy, building the foundation for real independence. And it all leads to the grand prize, Stage 3, hundreds of years of energy security, all from a resource that India has tons of. This kind of long-term thinking is exactly why India is a nuclear power today, and why its research into thorium is so important in our energy-hungry world.
And really, that's the key takeaway here. Homi Bhabha wasn't just an inventor who designed a new reactor. He was a strategist. He looked at the future, he understood the global chessboard, and he drew up a map to navigate it for the next 100 years. That is what true innovation looks like.
All of which brings us to one last thought. You know, Bhabha's story isn't just about history, and it's not really just about nuclear physics. It's got a way of thinking. Because when we look at the enormous challenges we're facing today, things like climate change and resource shortages, Bhabha's story really makes you ask a tough question. Are we still capable of thinking that far ahead? Are our leaders, our innovators, are any of us planning with that kind of long-term strategic vision? It's definitely something to think about.